Let's make a rotor punch and a tool to seat the bearing plate. Come on. Howdy friends, welcome back to the House of Tone. My name is Wes Lee. I'm a professional band instrument repair technician. I started a YouTube channel documenting my life in the trades. I appreciate you stopping by. So like we talked about in another video, one of the things I want to showcase in 23 is tool making. Whether you have a lathe or a bunch of fancy tools, or you just have to make something to get the job done. And it could not have come at a better time that we made that decision. We got an email from a senior in high school who is going to do a senior project. Their senior project, they are going to clean all of the French horns in their school band. And I think that is so cool to get an introductory into what it's like fixing instruments and taking them apart. So I want to wish this person much success on that. You emailed me about making you a punch. And I replied to your email and said that would be a great subject for a video because I want you to know how to do that. So let's share it with everybody. What's really cool and what I really hope happens on this is all the other techs and machinists and tradespeople that comment and talk about stuff. I'm going to do this really rapid fire and show how to get it done with just a couple of tools. I can't wait to read the comments, to read and see how other people do this same job. So it's going to be exciting in the comment section. This video may not be too exciting, but I hope that the comments, because I hope some other folks that are as old as I am want to pass off this knowledge and tell how they made tools. What we're going to do is we're going to fab up this. I've got Miss K took a bunch of video. Miss K took a bunch of video of me making bad drawings and dropping stuff on the floor. I've already got that part done. I'm not measuring anything. I'm not being scientific about anything. It is complete down and dirty. So if you have extremely limited stuff, you could do it. You could do this operation with nothing more than a file if you had to or wanted to. If that's all you had access to, that's fine. You'll get the job done. Instead of using a grinder to dress it at the end, you could use sandpaper, right? The goal is to be able to, what can you find at your local hardware store that you can make said tool out of? What tooling do I just have to be able to make the tool out of? Here's a way to do it, right? So those are the top three things. Those are the three criteria. Beyond that, you can do it with a milling machine and a lathe right? There's all kinds of stuff that we can do with that. We're down and dirty. We want to help this senior get off on the right foot, not mess anything up on these horns. That's what we're going to do. Let's jump in. Let's get it done. All right. Okay, so we have to remove the stop arms from a French horn. What we need to do is we need to make what we call rotor punches. I don't believe that these are commercially available. These we made this was a repair project in school, one of the tool making projects that we did. We just make them, grind them every time we have a new style because there are so many different ones. The particular one for this con is rounded on the top. And I worked at a shop where there's a beautiful view of my rotor here, of my rendering. The stop arm screw, this would sit here. This is your stop arm. It would go over this shaft, and the screw that goes in. I've worked and seen a lot of people, a lot of technicians that will unscrew this a few turns, take a hammer, and start bashing it out. And what happens is they distort because some of these rotors are so brittle now from what they were made with. They distort the threads, or they crack and flare out the tops because they're coming in at a single point. And we want to spread that across the top, but for it to be keyed just like this. Now, a trick that my son taught me when he was teaching me 3D design, because I was having problems with it, he said, "Dad, break it down into the shapes." So if we look at this, we have a circle, and then we have a square, right? Or a rectangle, I guess. So then if we remove all of this other stuff, that's our shape. And I used to not think about it that broadly, but he helped me, he made me see that. This is a very predominant style. This is a Con instrument. I believe that's what the student emailed me about. In real application, once you take the screw out and drop it, it's all right, it's on the floor, you know where it's at. You take your punch and it acts as a key. And you see you're striking that entire surface. So you're not going to damage the screw hole, you're not going to damage the keyway on the stop arm, and you're not going to damage the shaft itself. These are just ground out of just steel that you get at your hardware store. So we're going to stay with that. We're going to make this out of whatever you can get at your hardware store. And we're going to make it with tools that are readily available to you. So Miss Christie, if you'll pull back a little bit, we'll show. These are some punches that we picked up at the hardware store in different sizes. Here's a piece of brass rod. This is actually a piece of aluminum, and this is a piece of steel that you could use, cut a piece. I believe most every home center has this. We're going to use the brass today. You're going to remove your screw, and then you're going to see where you need to remove the material from. So we know that this is going to be one of our sides, which means that the opposite side is going to be one of our sides. And then the bottom, we've got to square up. So we're going to designate all of these. Okay? So we got one side, the bottom side, and the other side. That's what we're going to do. So the tools that we're going to use for this, we're going to use the belt sander, predominantly everybody can find. The other tool that we'll use is the grinding wheel to finish things off. Before we get started with this, safety is always super important. So we're in the fabrication room. Got to be wearing your safety glasses, your hearing protection. You may want to wear gloves, some rags, water pot to cool the material because we are using a friction process. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to rough out the three sides. Want to try to make sure to keep it straight. You can have a little taper when you get down here, but try to keep it parallel down at the bottom. Let the belt do the cutting. When it starts getting warm, dip it in the water. It'll cool it back off. It takes shape that fast. So in just a couple of minutes of work, we've got our profile done. It's okay that it's not perfect. We're going to test it on the stop arm, and we can see that it drops through. This one goes all the way. Mm-hmm. which will be plenty to drive out your rotor. Now I'm going to deburr the sharp edges just because that's something I do. You can do this same operation with a file or some sandpaper. So back on our rotor set, this will go in. See there? That looks great. Mm-hmm. Now you have plenty of surface to hammer against up top, and then you lightly tap it. You saw the bearing plate go. The rotor comes out. It's ready to be chemical flushed. The stop arm is unharmed. The shaft is unharmed. So that is your rotor punch. Easy to make. And you can make them for anything that you need it to make on. When it comes time to put it back together, and you put your rotor in, and you line up your mission mark on the casing, right? You have to seat this bearing plate. And a lot of times you see me use this. This is one that I made. This is out of ABS. And you come across, you hold it over your bearing plate, you lightly tap it down, you make sure that it's tapped down in all directions. Your rotor spins, everything is good. Okay, so we need to, you don't have this, we need to make you one, right? Okay, so let's knock that out real quick. So a piece of 3/4, it's larger than the face of the rotor. We are going to drill a hole in this that is bigger than this. So from here, what we're going to do is we need to, it's nice to be in the dead center if we can get it. So you could use a bell punch. You could do the old scribe 2 lines. You could just eyeball it. And this is a spade drill bit. 3/8 is the size that will get past the ridge that's on the bearing plate. So we're going to go down, I don't know, 1/2 inch or so. That should give us plenty of clearance. And it's okay that it's off center. It'll be fine. You can see that it's off center. That's okay, because when the bearing plate goes in, the wood is all the way around it. So it's still got all of its surface area covered. It'll be fine. So don't freak out if it doesn't go on center. So then the end result is that when you drop your rotor in and you align your mission marks, then you put your dowel to set and then lightly tap it back down. And I like to semi-rock it north, south, east, and west so I can get a good seat on the rotor. Spin your rotor, you're good to go. So there you go. Those are the first tools that we've made in the series. All right, so that's it. That's how you make a rotor punch and a tool to seat the bearing plates. Pretty straight ahead. You can do it with minimal equipment. Don't get hung up if it's not perfectly right angles or if you're off center a little bit. It's okay. There are times when all of those measurements are super critical. Sometimes just getting in the ballpark is close enough. I hope what is conveyed is, hey, I can do that. I can make that. That's the first thing to learn about fabrication. I can do that. So good luck to you on your project. I hope everything comes out great. We'll see y'all in the next video. This is Wes Lee signing out.